The Juraj Slafkovsky hate train is reaching unimaginable bounds as some analysts say that he might be the worst first overall pick since Nail Yakupov. We're going to be diving into all those ridiculous claims and why they're just so asinine. Plus, some Habs youngsters are showing out, winning Player of the Week and Player of the Month in their respective leagues. And finally, some Kaiden Guhle quotes that shows he is mature beyond his years. So you'll want to stick around for all that on this episode of Habs Digest. But a couple things before we get going. First, wish a very happy birthday to Mr. Jesse Poirier. Down in the comments, if you're watching right now, leave a comment saying happy birthday, Jesse. Happy birthday, Jesse. Really appreciate having you here. But also, this video is sponsored by Rentals.ca. What a transition. Habs hockey is back, and the Habs are moving into a new era with new stars, new prospects, and a whole new excitement from the fan base. If you feel like you want the same sort of excitement moving out from your own bland life like this, it's time to move for you as well, and it's never been easier than with Rentals.ca.
Because Rentals.ca has you covered, whether it's condos, whether it's homes or apartments, anywhere across the country, coast to coast. And what's so great about the website is that it's very easy to use. As you can see, you're able just to find maps of the area that you're looking for and find amazing listings right in your area. So, I mean, if this sounds good to you, now is the time to move.
It sure is. And Jesse, as a lot of you guys know watching, I use Rentals.ca. I say it every single time, and I gotta remind you guys, I genuinely really like Rentals.ca. And if I ever look for another apartment, I know that they will be the first website I check. So if it's time to move for you as well, check out Rentals.ca in the description or in the pinned comment. Let them know that we sent you, and maybe you can find your next home. Let's jump into the video, Jesse. Real quick, Kaiden Guhle, he speaks out on the team performance. And look, Kaiden Guhle has been talking about a lot of things recently because people love to go to Kaiden Guhle for quotes. He seems like, when you watch him on the ice, he seems like he's a 28-year-old vet. He seems like he's a vet and everything, but these quotes are just awesome. The first one he said is, this is after their brutal shootout loss to Vegas. He said, something I've learned in my 50 games in the league, actually it's 49, that you can have a pretty off night as a team and win the game. And then you can play one of your best games of the year and end up losing. But it wasn't just that. This next one was a little bit more insightful about the team game. He said, I think we were just moving the puck and playing fast, not skating fast, but letting the puck do the work. I think if you look at our O-zone, the puck was always moving. It was never stuck in the corner on someone's stick for 5 seconds. It's been always quick. That was such a fun game to play. And they say that having good balance is so key. Talk about it all the time. Some nights are easier than others to find balance, but it's one of the rules of the game to play balanced. And I just thought this was awesome. I thought this gives some really good insight into the Habs, their strategy, and just Kaiden Guhle as a player and how he analyzes the game.
It's so true. And to be honest, it almost sounds like Martin St. Louis speaking. Like, this is exactly what he talks about that he wants from the Habs. So to hear from Kaiden Guhle that they're actually executing this, like playing a quick team game, not just, skating fast, which kind of denotes more of like an individual effort, but of the puck moving fast, which indicates playing fast as a team, as a 5-man unit, which, Martin St. Louis is so big about talking about. Like, we know that this is how this team is successful. This is the way that the team is built, is to play in this type of way. They've gotten players that suit this type of mold, this type of system. So, I mean, amazing to see, and from Kaiden Guhle, we're seeing that experience, of knowing it's a fine line in the NHL between winning and losing and, not being like too hard on yourself when you lose, but also not being too proud when you win. It's amazing that he can realize these things, so early into his NHL career.
Yeah, to be able to come out of a game like that and your first quote to be like, hey, we played a great game, but we still lost. I'm very happy with the effort. And I thought we had these advantages. Like, who does that? Right? Like, this Habs team is full of maturity, like top to bottom. And the young guys, a lot of them are mature beyond their years. It's just, like you've said so many times, Jesse, Kaiden Guhle exudes leadership. And these kind of quotes just put forward that same notion and makes us think that he's probably going to end up with an alternate captaincy someday soon. Let's move on second to our second topic of the video. And the Habs youngsters are going crazy. And this is not Kaiden Guhle. This is guys who are not in the NHL. And oh my goodness, Habs prospects are going nuts this year. Of course, Lane Hutson just recently returned from injury. Had a great game in his debut, 3 points. But we also got Joshua Waugh. I mean, look, he has been the number one call-up for us. At least the guy that a lot of us have wanted to be the number one call-up, especially with Emil Heineman hurt. He has 12 points in 7 games. He's near the top of the AHL in points per game. And as for just raw points, he's third in the entire AHL, and the two guys ahead of him are both on Abbotsford, and both of them have played 3 games more than him. Jesse, he has just been utterly dominant in the AHL so far. He is number 1 in rookie scoring by far, with Connor Zary being a somewhat distant second, like 3 or 4 points behind. It has just been crazy to watch Joshua Waugh's progression.
Yeah, he's a very young guy, but he's looking like he could play on that first line with Cole Caufield and Nick Suzuki. I mean, that's crazy to say that we'd be saying that, after 7 games played, that yeah, from what he's playing so far in the AHL, he's looking like that could kind of be his future, which is amazing. It's so nice to see him just really producing, again, but he's doing what he's done his whole career, just putting up points, so much skill, so much hockey IQ, just able to get in those right spots, amazing positioning. So it's like, I don't know, Josh, like, do you think that, like, if he continues this level of play, like, should we call him up and have him on that first line? Yeah, eh?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Why not? Like at this point, why not? You want to just you're testing your guys out. Like it doesn't hurt. Right? How would it hurt to bring him up and test him out? Yeah, again, maybe you hurt some people's feelings. I think they deserve a shot over the first line. And look, it's really not common to bring up a guy from the AHL and test him out on the first line, but a guy who's shown his ability to play with other very good players, a guy who is dominating the AHL, even if it's not on the first line, even if it's on the second line or third line or something, I feel like he needs a shot, maybe sooner than later, but who knows? I mean, we don't want to rush anything. But we also have another prospect. Like, we got to get through all this. We got Jacob Fowler's goaltender of the month. If you guys watched our Fowler video the other day, if you didn't, go back and watch just a couple-minute video breaking down Jacob Fowler's excellency so far with Boston College. Goaltender of the month for Hockey East. The same conference Lane Hudson is in. They're going to play each other eventually. But Jesse, Jacob Fowler, we talked about him a bit the other day. I'd say the viewers can go look at that video if they want to see some more. But just again, like, how impressive has he been? How impressive has this been for Habs prospects in the last few weeks?
Yeah, Habs prospects just in general. It's like we have the best, like, defensemen in Hockey East in the NCAA, you would think, with Lane Hudson. And now we have the best goalie in Hockey East too, as well with Cam Fowler. And what's so impressive is over his early start, going 5-1-0 at 215 GAA, is like he's putting up his best numbers at the highest level of hockey that he's ever played at in his career. This is early on in the season, but still, this is very big, right? Because this kind of shows to his projectability in the NHL. If he's putting up his best numbers at the highest level of hockey he's played in, that lends you to think that he can continue to do that moving forward.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's exactly what Mr. Fowler said in his draft interview. He was like, hey, I've always been underestimated. I've won at every level. Why does no one want me? Guess what? The Habs wanted him, and he's showing out so far. After Dobesh's kind of rough start in Laval, hopefully he can bounce back. He's rocking an .850 save percentage right now, I think. It's nice to see Jacob Fowler doing some good, and we hope to see him in a few years for the Bleu Blanc et Rouge. But for now, we got to transition a bit into Slafkovsky. And look, has he been having the best season? No, I mean, absolutely not. I don't think anyone's going to look at his season and say, like, oh my gosh, he is phenomenal. No, he still has a lot to work on. But for Habs fans, for people who actually watch the team, his improvements have been drastic. His ability to win board battles, his ability to create high danger chances with his passing, his ability to stay on his feet and also not be gassed all the time, which he really was last year. He's improving slowly and he looks a lot better. However, some analysts, Andy and Rono, they do some hockey stats on Twitter, follow him seriously. They do have good stats, but this one felt like it was a bit of an attack. They said, yikes, 1 point in 9 games. This is really not an ideal start for Slafkovsky. We're really concerned this could be the worst #1 draft pick since Nail Yakupov, to be honest. And they provided this graphic, which is just completely missing the transition section. So they base their rating off of just offense and defense. And look, they have him at a 5 defensive impact where they're missing stats for denials, recoveries, roll difficulty. This was put up just to make him look bad, if you ask me. And look, here's the thing. His offensive impact, 74, but he hasn't put up the point production. To me, if a couple of bounces go his way, that point production could be in the 50s and stuff. Like, look, Jesse, we know he's been improving year over year. This, to me, just seemed like something put out there to make people kind of hate on Slafkovsky, put the pressure on Slafkovsky. And while I think we'd all kind of agree that Slav has a long way to go before he's like a very good NHL player, something like this just really frustrates me to see.
It's true. And for sure with Kirby Dach in the lineup, I think that would be helping him a lot. But really, I don't get the comparison between him and Nail Yakupov. It's really apples and oranges. They're different type of players in terms of how they play the game. With Yakupov, a big concern was always kind of like with the effort level and everything else. And with Juraj Slafkovsky, even though maybe he's not getting all the bounces going his way, you can never say that he's not trying out there. Maybe we would want him to be like a little bit more aggressive at certain points, but I think it's never for an act of, never for a lack of effort, which I find if you have the skill, if you're willing to put in the work, then you're going to have the success. Where Nail Yakupov, he had the skill, but he wasn't quite willing to put in that work, which I find, is a big difference between the two. And again, another difference between these two players is, Nail Yakupov did start off all right in the NHL. It wasn't just terrible right away.
Yeah.
Whereas, Yakupov was good, and then it just went off a cliff. Whereas with Slaf, we're seeing that he's just slowly kind of getting better, right? And this is the long-term play. Like, the whole time it was who's going to be the best player in 5 years from now, and as we saw, like, even with recent players, like, it's funny how our memory can be so short, of fans of the game, people that watch the NHL, like Jack Hughes, it took him 2 seasons to really kind of get his point totals up. And I mean, look at what he's doing right now. And, we're not saying that he's exactly that same player, but could I see, Juraj Slafkovsky's, points totals really going up after, 2 full seasons in the NHL? Absolutely, I can.
Yeah, I mean, just look at the Kotkaniemi situation. He's now only 23 years old, and albeit a small sample size with Carolina, he's a point per game so far this year. He was a 40-point-ish pace guy last year, and the Habs were not necessarily patient with him, and he was a bit rushed. And there was a lot of people saying Slafkovsky should maybe be sent down to the AHL. Look, we did it with Caufield. Why can't we do it with Slafkovsky? And honestly, I see a world where that can happen, but like right now, I think getting him NHL reps is good because he's clearly adapting quite fast, right? From one year to the next, he's learning. But I think, like you said, Jesse, having Dach would be amazing. And I think that his line mates right now, he just doesn't have that much chemistry with guys like Newhook and especially Josh Anderson. While Slaf thrives when you have playmakers around him, guys who are moving the puck around a lot, where Anderson's very much a one-dimensional puck on his stick kind of guy. That doesn't really benefit Slaf in his play style. And look, I'm not going to try and make excuses. Has he been great? No, he has not. Have there been a lot of really good number 1 overall picks since Nail Yakupov? Yeah, you look at McKinnon, Matthews, Bedard, right? There's a lot of really good guys who've been picked first overall since him. But will Slaf be the worst? I don't think so. I think we just have to wait, have to be patient, see what he can do, because he's improving every single game, it feels like. And eventually, we're going to look back at these discussions and realize that they were completely ridiculous. But that'll do it for this news episode of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. We are pushing 9,000 subs. It's crazy how much support you guys have been showing us recently, and we really, really appreciate it. I'm Josh Gosse, my co-host, Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.